Okay, recording in progress.
Tammy and Lucian, the applicant is here for 107 South Street, but I don't see Jason or Vicky. I believe Vicky says she might not be able to attend. Just heads up if you wanna, I don't know what you're gonna do.
Yeah, well, let's see. It's 6:04. Let's give 2 more minutes. Let's make sure we're at quorum. That's the most important thing. And then we go from there.
I'm looking at quorum right now. Tammy, Jeff Galloway is here for Battery Park City tonight.
Thank you very much.
We're still short one person. So this is the part where we have to text everybody.
Yep.
We're missing someone from Landmarks. I don't know if we have anyone. Oh, no, we have Francis here for licensing. So we're good to go.
Lucian, I'm here for landmarks, but I'm not a chair or a co-chair, so. But it is
Yep.
my committee.
I'll text Laura and Patrick.
Now you've been designated to write the resolution.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Tammy, you mentioned my name. I'm here. It's Patrick.
Hey, Patrick's here for land use. Perfect. Thank you, Patrick.
Hello.
And now I'm missing Jason. Okay, and Trisha, I know Trisha logs in. She is only here for a short period tonight. So let's make sure she's also double meeting tonight.
Yes.
Hi, Trisha. Thank you.
Hi.
Jason,
Susan's here as well. Wonderful.
okay. Jason is on the way. He's having some troubles logging in. So he'll be here shortly. You put the agenda up, please, Lucian.
Sure.
All right, so we're gonna. I think I have quorum now with Patrick and Trisha and Susan all here, correct?
That's right.
All right, awesome. So this is Executive Committee meeting. Thank you so much. This is Manhattan Community Board 1. I'm Tammy Meltzer, and we're official with quorum at 6:08. We do have some business of the board to attend to this tonight, which includes some applicants that'll be here. I'm waiting for Jason, who should be here shortly, and then we will go over 107 South Street.
Tammy, he's on.
I'm here.
Hey, Jason, great. So let's turn it over. Let's go in order. We're going to get the applicant done first, and then we're going to do the open meeting laws, and then I'm going to move Betty's topic after we do the open meeting law one to ensure that I am respectful, because I know Trisha needs to leave by 7, and Alice, for all those who are not aware, is at the public hearing for South Battery Park City resiliency tonight. So, okay.
If you're here for 107 and you're in the attendee section, please raise your hand. I'll move you over.
And for the board members who are wondering who some of the extra folks are, we have 4 out of 5 of our brand new newbies with us who can all kind of wave and everybody see. please note, if your camera is not on this evening, that will need to change. Toot sweet, because we have guidance from the borough president's office to be counted, to be able to vote, you will have to have your cameras on. If you need to leave the meeting, you can leave the meeting, but it needs to be orally recorded. So whoever is taking minutes can say, for example, Tammy has stepped away, she will be right back. Much as if when we are in person, you can see that. Y'all can use as many virtual backgrounds you want. I don't care if you're in an office like I am, or you're blurring, whatever works that makes you feel comfortable with it, but that is the guidance that we have under the current law. I say that tonight because we're gonna go through all of it when we get to the resolution. And with that, let's find our presenter and get it going.
So Thomas Barry, I
Thomas.
assume that you are presenting slides?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Can you see the first slide?
I have not seen the slides come up on the screen yet.
Okay, let's see. Oh, there we go.
Okay, looks like you're good to go.
Great. So I'll be presenting a project for an expansion and an alteration of 107 South Street. The project was approved with public hearing at Landmarks in March of 2001 as a vertical addition and conversion to an office building of basically existing five-story building, five-story warehouse building with a conversion to office space and the addition of 1.5 stories. This conversion was approved in March of 2021, and since that time, the client has decided to convert this into a mixed-use residential building with a store at the ground floor. So we have a few changes to the envelope of the building and some of the details that were necessary to create the residential conversion compared to the commercial office conversion. The vertical extension basically started that was approved. I'm just going to run through where we landed with the Landmarks public hearing last year. We basically started our vertical extension at the existing cornice, and then came back with a steeply sloped roof clad in standing seam zinc to match the slopes of the adjacent buildings with similar treatments and attic stories. We have a recessed dormer, and then a peak which aligns with the peak of the adjacent building to the south. The other view of the vertical extension is we were running parallel to the existing building, coming up, meeting, and then sloping back with the counter slope. The extension is largely not visible from the street, and mostly visible from the adjacent Brooklyn Bridge and FDR Drive. The storefront infill was proposed to accommodate the new an exit, from a second exit stair, a main entry, replicating one of the cast iron columns for symmetrical layout with a bulkhead and steel painted window frames. The rear facade would be extended again 1.5 stories from the existing 5-story building, with the brick cladding extended to match, and a new window opening proportion, larger windows, basically taking the existing openings and continuing them for larger openings for the office space. And the ground floor space got a new door and glazing as well. The changes that we need to do now for the residential conversion. One item came up in our building department review, which was a requirement for sustainable roof zone. And this would be achieved through a solar panel applied to the front sloped roof, basically not visible from the street, but visible from higher vantage points such as the FDR and the Brooklyn Bridge. It's a view of that on the other side. Otherwise, the general bulk is not changed from the previous proposal. There'll be skirting applied around the solar panel to shield the stanchions and other supports. I have a detail of that if it needs to come up. Second change is related to the storefront. We need to create a second egress door here, which basically is required due to the fire escape that we're adding to the back of the building, which would then discharge through a fire-rated passageway back to the street. So this panel was previously matching the adjacent window panes with the bulkhead and the post, and it would be now a door similar to the other steel framed and glass doors on this elevation. At the rear facade, we are adding a fire escape, and the window openings have been modified to align with bedrooms on either side of the facade. One of the parameters of the building code and the multiple dwelling law that we're complying with in order to achieve the residential conversion is for conversion of existing commercial buildings in a manufacturing or commercial district to residential, and which permits existing bulk to follow certain parameters for distance of windows to the rear lot line. So the existing rear facade of the building is 12 foot 6 inches from the rear lot line. Windows are required to be set back 15 feet from the lot line, as opposed to the typical 30-foot rear yard, which would be required for new residential zoning. And therefore, one of the particularities of this is that the windows will be set back a distance of 1 foot 6 inches from the brick face. We're also proposing balconies in this bay of a similar type, railing type, and structure to the fire escape. And we're also illustrating the mechanical equipment platform that's being proposed for the roof. This is an elevation of the rear facade. It's the same facade with and without the fire escape and balcony shown for clarity on the right. This is a standard fire escape of the minimum dimensions that we're able to do for code. Detailing of the fire escape will include C-channel painted steel construction, 1 inch square posts and top bars. Building section. See the 1.5 stories that were added. The recessed dormer, recessed balcony from the original proposal, the fire escape, and to clarify, if I zoom in, you can understand the recessed windows here that we're proposing. We looked at the surrounding district for references.
I'm going to stop you at the breath.
Okay,
That's the breadth of the work, right?
that's the work.
it's really the storefront and some changes in the back. So
Yep.
let's put the storefront up. Can you give me existing and proposed together next to each other, or was that a sheet?
Mm. Well, I can
Okay.
toggle back and forth pretty quickly. So this is approved.
This is approved, right? Sorry.
So the
Okay.
change.
And those
is for
columns
this.
are new. They don't exist.
This column exists.
Oh, it
And
does.
we're
Great.
and we're matching it with this one.
You're going to cast that one, or is it going to be some sort of new material?
It'll be bent, formed steel to match and painted to match.
Tell me more about bent form steel. I've never heard of it. Are you talking about like aluminum or
No, sheet steel. We'll do a break form
break
and
form?
create a similar profile. Yes.
Okay. And that column was part of the first approval, right? We're looking at the approved storefront.
Correct.
And so the change is really just an extra door for egress because now it's a mixed use building. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, it is a mixed use building with a store on the first floor.
No, I'm saying, so where's,
Yeah, it will be a mixed use building. Store on the
this
first
is
floor.
approved. So what does the proposed change elevation look like?
This is a similar transom with
Uh-huh.
a door for secondary egress here.
Well, I don't see how anybody could really, I mean, I don't object to it. I'll say that, the change, and then I'll let anybody else comment on it, and then let's try and, I think I would write a positive resolution.
Okay, would you like me to address?
Are there
go
any
back
other
to-
people on our committee that want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, Jason, I would like
Go.
to, and I believe Susan is also
Go,
has her
Gerald.
hand up. But anyway, so
I will manage hands up, no problem, Jason, because I see you walking. Gerald's first, followed by Susan. And after that, I'll tell you whose hands are up if you can't see it on your phone.
all right, thank you, Tammy. So I don't have any objection to the door. The one question I have is, what is Landmarks? If you could go back to the solar panel, the roof, what direction have you received from Landmarks thus far regarding the solar panels?
Well, the staff that reviewed it didn't make any issue of it. They indicated that if it was a standalone item, they could approve it at staff level, most likely. They just requested that we provide a detail for a skirting around the bottom that would, shield it and make it not look like the panels float above the roof.
Okay, yeah, it's really this is a very interesting situation, and I don't know what Landmarks, how they're going to continue with approving. I mean, obviously, this whole upper penthouse is new work. It's not historic. It looks nice, first off, I will say that. So I have no objections with that. My only issue is, are there other solar panel applications in historic districts that you've reviewed and that are a precedent, or is this the first that we're looking at here?
Honestly, I wish I could answer that, but it wasn't really raised as an issue to us. Typically, they'll ask us to research something like other fire escapes in the district, like balconies for precedent, but this didn't really get raised as a concern. So unfortunately, I can't answer that.
Sure. And is there a reason that they were placed horizontally rather than vertically to run with the with the standing seam roof?
No, I don't think there's any particular reason for that orientation.
I mean,
Technically,
understandably,
from a technical
they are
standpoint,
what
yeah.
they are what they are, and DOB is we obviously have these new energy requirements. So the historic district or excuse me, the LPC is going to have to they're going to have to weigh in, I guess, at some point. My only comment would be that this would be an opportunity to perhaps look outside of the standard 4 foot by 8 foot solar panel application to possibly Googling a standing seam solar array application, because there are products out there that would be less industrial looking, perhaps.
Mhm.
But other than that, I don't object to the overall proposal. And thank you for your patience the other evening with landmarks.
Oh, thank you.
So Susan, you had something to say, I thought.
She does. I think she's, let's see what's going on with her audio.
Can we have your assurance that you can't see the panels from the street?
Yes, I mean,
Okay, anyone else? I don't see any other hands.
this
hand
roof
up.
surface is not visible from the
Right,
street.
okay,
It
Tammy,
is,
go ahead.
So my question was about the neighbor, because with the roof line that you showed, whoops, go back to the one that shows the existing next door.
Mhm.
Have you spoken with them? Because it does look like the new extension of the building and the roof line will put their windows and dormers in shade.
Here,
Yep.
we have not.
Have they weighed in at all on any of this? Or
No, we haven't. Heard from them.
would you be open and willing to speaking to your neighbors and seeing if this is going to adversely impact them at all?
Oh, yeah, of course. It didn't really occur to me, just in terms of, I guess, South Light, would be coming from this direction and would not be hitting these windows necessarily. I think they're still getting the same morning light to a certain degree. We're really, our existing building is to here. So I think the lower morning light probably wouldn't be really changed on these windows, which is really,
That was my only question. Thank you.
yeah.
Susan, are you still interested in talking? I'm gonna take that.
She's muted. She's trying to talk, Jason, but she's given a thumbs up in approval, I believe. Yes,
Great.
she's saying yes. Okay.
Okay, so let's
Paul Goldstein has his hand up.
okay, go ahead.
I was just going to suggest that we call the question.
I second that.
Jason, forgive me. I have one, because I just saw the screen pop by when we were going through. So I noticed that there's some sort of, it appears to be some sort of signage going on the front of the building. Has that been already approved?
Yes, that was,
Because there is no signage currently.
right. This is very similar to an historic sign, lettering that was on the building. The
Right.
current owner.
Can you
is
leave
Tribeca.
that picture up for a second?
But this isn't Tribeca. This,
No,
I guess,
course.
I mean, it's kind of
Well,
weird.
the company is Tribeca Pediatrics that owns the building.
Right. Oh, we went over that whole thing, but is it
Yeah.
still going to be Tribeca Pediatrics on there? Accessory to the first floor?
The first floor will most likely be Tribeca Pediatrics, yes.
Right. And if it's not, you won't have the words Tribeca Pediatrics on the building as not accessory to the building itself for some sort of strange marketing of the FDR, right? Because
I
I think
absolutely cannot tell you what the owner of the building is going to do with this approved tendering after. I mean, I'm not speaking for him.
sure. What we're going to do is we're going to include a line as a whereas that we don't accept non-accessory signage. In other words, that'll prevent anybody from
Yeah.
coming there and just putting, the things that don't represent what's in the building. And I'm just going to follow up with one other thing, which I just think personally would be awesome if your client would consider like reinstating a canopy there, because from this picture, what it looks like is the whole block has canopies, and I don't see why that wouldn't be a benefit, but I'm not going to like hold it against anybody. It's not really relevant in that way, but I think it's a great suggestion by me to your client. Okay? So-
I agree 100%, and we have drawn that for him. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so
Yeah.
we called the question, right?
We did. So, and I'm seconding it. So let's do a vote. So this is a vote for executive committee for all those who are on executive committee. Thank you for the Landmarks folks for joining us. Lucian, you're recording, or Lucy or Diana, but I'm just going to go by affirmation. So let's call for, are there any no's? Are there any abstentions? Are there any recusals? Motion passes as Jason has outlined unanimously. Thank you. And thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
We'll send you the draft so you can see the stipulations that on the whereases for what Jason has said, including the.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you and good evening. Okay, let's go back to agenda, please, Lucian. We're going to go, Betty, I'm going to make you hold on, so I'm so sorry about that. We're going to go to remote member allowances for hybrid meetings for the new open meeting law. We're going to try and front load some resolution stuff because we've got everybody here. Okay, not sure how many people have been following along, but you should have received all this information. This was updated from this morning's borough board meeting. We had a long discussion, and the district service cabinet meeting as well. So there are two aspects that are important to note on the information that we've been given. There are two separate emergency orders that were given. One is the city's emergency order, which has been renewed monthly, that expires at the end of March. The other one is the state one that expires on June 14th. But in order to be able to go past June 9th to June 14th, you have to pass a resolution prior to June 9th, which will be today on our full board. And then the rest of the open meeting laws that have been passed that are attached to the budget sunset on July 2024. I know that sounds like a lot of crazy information, but it's everything that we have in there. So we are going to go forward. Let's go down to slowly scroll for anybody who has not seen this yet.
I'll also mention that this is available on live.mcb1.nyc under meeting materials. So you can download this PDF as well.
So it goes through the emergency orders. It specifically notes that with an emergency order makes it nigh impossible for us to hold our meetings in person. And that the COVID is back on the rise again. We held our public hearing on May 24th regarding the we'll be holding our open meeting? Yeah.
We'll have to do a bookended hearings. We did one hearing, and then we'll do another hearing in response to this
Exactly.
to satisfy the requirements of the law.
All right, so let's go to the meat and potatoes of therefore be it resolved. This is taken specifically off the direction that we've gotten from legal, from the borough president's office. So this is not something that we set as a board, and that was really important to us because we cannot be the arbiters of the interpretation. So meetings will be held with some members attending remotely, but the quorum of the board has to be present at a location, which means that in order to run a full board meeting, you have to have 26 members in person, and that number cannot drop, right? And the in-person location is where the public is welcome to go. The public is also welcome to be online. In order to qualify for a board member to be online, the circumstances should qualify as extraordinary. And then they go under all of the different things about medical conditions, with notes from the doctor, unexpected work travel, weather conditions that prevent it for those who have accessibility issues to be able to get to the location safely. If you are going to be virtual, it must be read into the record. So it is part of the permanent that for example, in argument's sake, Lucian Reynolds is attending this meeting remotely and is an excuse for blank. Okay, and that has to be written audibly stated for a meeting record when a note taker is not present. That applies for full board. That applies for committee meetings. So if for any reason on your committee, remember all committees have to have a quorum, but if Jason Friedman for some reason isn't at Landmarks, Jason Friedman has to be online and say, for the recording, because we record our committee meetings, I had an unexpected work. I'm in Panama, but I am tuning in remotely. Are there any questions thus far on how we're going? Okay, I'm looking for hands.
Tammy, we have one hand from Patrick.
Patrick and Gerald, Gerald's hands up. So we'll go Patrick and then Gerald.
Yeah, and sorry if you put this out there and I just didn't absorb it. Am I correct that one circumstance, assuming they qualify for extraordinary, is that a member can count for quorum if they're appearing by remote means at a place where the public could be invited? In other words, I don't know, I'm caring for somebody who's ill, but I'm going to do this from my apartment, and I'll agree that any member of the public can be there and publish the address. That's technically, and it's obviously not a very appetizing option, but it's technically an option, is it not?
That is technically an option, Patrick, but it's more for like if we have multiple viewing locations. So, for example,
Got it.
we have the full board meeting in the large conference room with the satellite portion in our conference room upstairs. That would be two locations that the public can enter. That's, I think, that's what they're contemplating there.
But to do it and take advantage of it in one way or another, whether it's multiple viewing rooms or not, those addresses need to be published in advance in accordance with our normal notification procedures, right?
Correct.
That's right.
So for argument's sake, if you were taking them, you were virtual from an office up in Harlem, that would have to be published and you would have to allow the public to attend there.
So more likely than not, true exigencies or last minute work trips, whatever it may be, you're not going to be able to. I just wanted to make that clear, really, for board members who might be thinking that could be an option. You're not going to be able to say, okay, I'll just publish the address of where I am, roll the dice that a member of the public may or may not show up, and then I'll be counted, because it's probably not going to work from the notification procedure standpoint.
Correct.
Yeah,
That's all I
but
had. Thanks.
according to this law now, really strategically, we have to focus on just all quorum must be in person, because otherwise we have to kind of fall back to those kind of crazy aspects of the original open meeting law language. It's just the beyond quorum. Some members may be remote, but
And it would
we
be
really
a
have
nightmare to coordinate.
Correct.
I'm looking at this as a nightmare. Yes.
All right. I don't see Gerald's hand up anymore. Jeff Galloway.
Okay. Just to clarify, so if you attend remotely, subject to one of these exceptions that allows you to attend remotely, you don't get counted for quorum, but your vote, in fact, does count, and you're marked as present. Is that how it works?
So you will be marked as present remotely.
Okay.
So we will have to be, so there are ways that we have to go back in and, for example, change the bylaws, because it has to be accurate to reflect who's in the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who is remote. Because when somebody goes to check for quorum, if
they
somebody...
they have to be able to do that, I see from the records.
That's right.
But your vote does count.
Yes.
It does.
Okay. All right.
By the way, I like the beard.
Thank you. Used to have one many years ago.
There you go. All right. Jeff's hand is down. Anybody else's hands? With seeing no one else's... Oh, Jeff, is your hand still up? Oh, Trisha, your hand is up. Go, Trisha.
I'm sorry, I might be dense. I don't understand this at all. I'm gonna have some clarification on is there, so we're saying we're back in person, we need special permission to be remote. We're counted as present, but we are not counted for a quorum, but we can vote. All those things are not like registering in my brain.
So quorum is dependent on who's in the room.
Hmm.
Always need to have quorum in the room where the meeting is. That's first and foremost. So you take a look and say, if your committee meeting is 10 people, you have to have 6 in the room. Otherwise, you can't hold a meeting unless you're doing just reports. Okay. If you have 6 people in the room, but you have 10 on your committee and the other 4 are remote, they may be remote and they may vote. The minute you lose quorum in person, you may no longer vote on anything.
Okay.
Is that a little clearer?
Yes.
And Patricia, there are some possibilities. There is a possibility that we could stay remote past the 14th, which this resolution will speak to. So this is only if the executive emergency orders do not persist, and then we are forced to go back into a hybrid in-person remote scenario. That's what we're preparing for, but we're also in this resolution setting up the potential to extend remoteness into the future, provided that the city and or the state continues issuing disaster declarations.
Okay.
So
Um,
it's a pretty comprehensive resolution for both of these things.
So do you know, Lucian, if they're envisioning us going back in masks?
That is an interesting. So the city law department has told community boards that we are not allowed as a community board to enforce mask usage. However, if we are in a venue that requires mask usage, we could pass that requirement on because we have to respect the venue. Currently, 1 Center Street requires that visitors wear a mask. So, as it stands currently, my understanding is that any meetings taking place at 1 Center Street, we can have a mask requirement because it is required of us, of our landlord, by our landlord, the Department of Citywide Administrative Services.
Correct.
Outside meetings, though, if there's no standing mask requirement of the venue that we are in, we are not allowed to require the mask. And we are
what
never allowed to
happens-
require vaccination.
So I understand that there are exceptions for medical and caretaking and things like that. What if there are board members that aren't comfortable with that scenario, if there are still cases, if they, are just not comfortable with it, exposing themselves in then that way?
Again,
What we're
take
told is that it's not extraordinary.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Thanks.
Unfortunate, but not extraordinary in the eyes of this law.
Mhm.
So-
You all can tinker a little bit with some of these categories that we categorize as extraordinary. This is what the consensus is largely with the community boards. But really, again, if we're challenged on this, it has to fit the definition of extraordinary, or at least what the idea is getting at.
Betty and Mimi, in that order, please.
Ask if the community board as a whole was going to look committee by committee to see how many of the members are going to have exceptional or could have exceptional, because if you then end up with a committee that's going to have a nightmare getting quorum, you should probably know that in advance, including the chair.
So for our purposes, we are looking at every single committee, and every chair will have to take a look at their own committee. I'm not going to make a supposition for anyone, because my supposition is that everyone will be able to obtain quorum of their committees in person. If that's not going to happen, then that's a different, we have to take a look at committee composition and other opportunities for where perhaps a committee could meet, right?
So
But
it's
that,
okay as a chair to ask our committee members if they plan on filing for an exemption?
it has to be extraordinary. So, I mean, that
Understood.
people really need to understand that it's extraordinary. This is not a blanket situation. You don't get to join the community board and assume that you will not go to meetings. That's not the intent of what this is. So,
The office is going to have to be a lot more aggressive in pushing for attendance, because it will be very easy for a committee to slip into not having quorum because one member that we were relying on is going to ask for, extraordinary circumstance. When it comes to things like weather or childcare slipping through, or a caretaking plan slipping through, that could be a night of thing that we learn about. Other things we'll know well ahead of time. If someone is immunocompromised, that's something that we can plan for. So we really need to make sure that we have enough buffer for every committee to absorb these things as they come. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble.
and think of it this way: if you are immunocompromised, but you are a restaurant patron, how does that jive that is okay to go to restaurants and to go to work and participate in your office in person, but not a community board meeting? So, I mean, really, that's why I said this is not intended to be a blanket. It is really a consideration. You okay, Betty? So we're going to go to Mimi and then Susan.
I essentially had the same concern that Betty has. And it seems that considering the way that our committees are organized, some committees could be more impacted than others because of interest. And so that's all I have to add to that question, really. Thank you.
Susan, you're next. Susan, you're muted. There you go. Suze. Susan, if you can, put it in the chat. Or her hands down. All right. Seeing no other hands, I'm going to call the question. Do I have a second?
Tammy, Susan seems to be trying to get your attention.
Can she text?
Second.
But I'll say Diane Stein's hand is up in attendees.
Oh, goodness gracious. I didn't see that. Thank you, Betty.
Susan, can you text me?
And then in the meanwhile, if somebody from the office team can unmute Diane Stein. Thank you, Betty, for catching that. Diane, you should be able to speak now. Thank you.
How will social when they meet in person, how will social distancing be handled? Because when we met that time in July, it was a small room, not socially distanced, and then we were told you could take your masks off when speaking, which I would assume would be spreading droplets. So I'm very unhappy with I just want to go on record that I'm not very happy with the new procedures, and it you may lose some people, but that you'll have to deal with that.
We are only able to go by whatever the law is, and this is the law. It's the law in front of us. There is no social distancing necessarily rules and requirements at the moment for meeting spaces. So, and we obviously do not have the budget to be, booking a ballroom for 300 people for a meeting for 50. So the borough president, we have asked not only Community Board 1, but all the community boards to see if there's any type of bandwidth to be able to provide opportunities for larger spaces for community board, full board meetings, so that all the boards do not have to pay. And there are, keep in mind, while we may be venue rich in Lower Manhattan and have the opportunity to use Pace and and some of the schools and things like that, there are other places that are very, very limited for what they have in front of them. So we are going to pioneer this like we have with everything else, with doing the best we can and going forward, because the options are you have to get it done. Diane, I'm going to go back to Paul Goldstein. His hand is up, and Susan, if you've typed in.
Yeah, sorry, but just a couple of clarifications. This list of extraordinary circumstances that qualify was arrived at by elected officials, by lawyers in the borough president's office. Who came up with this list?
This is directly off a memo.
Question.
This is directly off the memo that we received from legal guidance from the Manhattan Borough President's Office.
So that means this is only guidance for Manhattan community boards. It's very possible that boards in other jurisdictions, other counties may have different rules. It sounds that way.
I can only speak to what as my city agency head, I can only speak to what the Manhattan Borough President's legal team tells us. I do not know what the Brooklyn boards have or what, Allegheny County, upstate New York is doing. I am sure that there will be opportunities for interpretation from many different locations. We are taking what we have been given by legal counsel.
So we don't know what other boroughs are doing. Okay. No, I understand you were handed this, but it doesn't sound great. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, for people who have not spoken yet, Francis. And then
So based on,
my question was not, I did not get a second for a call of the question, so I'm going through.
oh, I did.
No, Francis, you're next.
No. I second your call for the question.
Oh,
I did that as anyway.
Then I think we're done.
To follow up on Paul, just to follow up on Paul's question. So basically, nobody on a staff or community board or membership level had any input into this protocol. It was totally done by legal people from the.
We passed many resolutions requesting many different things. This was done in legislature and budget.
Okay.
Yeah, the state passed this as part of their ginormous budget package, the big ugly bill, as they call it. We didn't even know they had passed some changes to open meetings law until days later when they finally posted the text and people started piecing through it. They said, "Oh, look, Section WW of Bill 9 has like some changes to open meetings law," and then the lawyers all started trying to, dig in to make opinions and guidance for everyone, because a lot of it is, subject to what their determination is. From what we've heard, it's not the most complete, law. So there's a lot that is up for determination. But the State Committee on Open Meetings has weighed in. The City Law Department has weighed in, and the Borough President's General Counsel have weighed in. And this is what we're left with. This is what the distilled guidelines are for us in order to not be, taken to court over violating open meetings law.
Now,
which has received input from various entities that don't necessarily deal with us here in Manhattan. Like the question was raised that Tammy couldn't answer in terms of whether the input, does Brooklyn have to follow the same thing, and does Rochester have to follow the same procedure?
Yes.
But yet
Yes.
still we are subjected to comments and inputs from around the globe. Is that my understanding? The input was from everybody, in terms of, when I say everybody, in terms of state legislator and the legislation and different areas. And it culminated into this document, which we have to abide by.
Yes, Rochester is subject to the same open meetings law that we are, but they're not subject to the laws of the city of New York nor the city charter. It's
Okay.
other, there's lots of different things that mesh together to create the result that we're working with.
Okay.
Okay. On that note, I am not recognizing any other hands because the question was called in second. Everybody's had at least one turn round. So we're gonna take a vote. Mimi, take it away.
Am I doing a roll call of some
Oh,
sort?
I can do this one. I'm sorry. Let me.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Okay. All those opposed, speak now. All those who are abstaining, speak up. Any recusals?
I will.
Okay.
I'll abstain.
Paul
Paul Goldstein.
Paul
Thank you.
Goldstein abstains.
Curtis
Any other-
abstains.
Curtis abstains.
I think Joyce is going to
Wait,
abstain too.
wait, hold on a second. Francis,
Yes.
since Susan's here, Susan's going to be the main vote for executive.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, did I miss anyone else?
Yeah, I think Trish is going to abstain too.
Risha abstains, okay. Okay. Susan, it looks like she's talking to the screen. I'm so sorry, Susan. Susan, can you call in on your phone? Go to live.ncb1.nyc and call in, and we'll unmute your phone. That way you can just speak through your phone and we'll see you on the screen as well. Okay, and then we'll come back and record your vote on this once your voice is on. But assuming that no matter what the result you vote, Susan, this is going to pass. So we can move on.
But we'll still need your vote for the record.
Yeah, we still need it for the record. Okay.
I am grateful for everybody's attention and detail on this. The goal has always been to be able to try and maintain some kind of hybrid and virtual meetings to accommodate the success we've had both publicly and with the members. And that is the goal for that resolution, is to be able to, if we do not pass a resolution like this, then we will not be able to continue at all remotely past June 9th.
Yeah, we're basically back to 2019. Just one thing I want to just put on everyone's radar. These last three, be it resolved, make it so we can go back to fully remote once we determine that the city is extended, or the mayor has extended the emergency declarations. So right now we know that we can go remote up until the 14th because there is a state emergency declaration that lasts until the 14th of next month. The city they've been doing every month on the end of the month, they've been extending their emergency declaration for 1 month. So if they do extend their declaration at the end of this month, then these two will allow us to go remote again for 1 month. So that is, yeah.
Right. And we won't need to come back and do a resolution and do a resolution and resolution. It sets it as the standard. So anytime there's an emergency order in place, we are able to go virtual, period. Okay. All right. So that's cool. All right. Which now brings us to, once we are virtual, we need to do elections of officers. Since we're not going to have paper ballots, which is what is written into our bylaws, we need to be able to do a virtual election. This resolution is designed to amend our bylaws to allow us to have something other than paper in light of the new hybrids. Let's see, hands raised for questions on this.
And I'll just only add that this is the exact same resolution that was passed by the board in 2020 in preparation for our last round of elections. What is different is I pulled all the information about Governor Cuomo's executive orders, which were at that point underpinning the a remote nature of the meetings. This is, since there will be members, even if we go back in person, there may be members who are voting remotely due to the new law. So that's why this is now written permanence, because as far as we can see, we will be having the possibility of having remote members, whether it's a hybrid or a fully remote scenario.
Okay, Betty and then Jeff.
I don't have objections to the overall content. My question is really related to, is there something wrong with the date, the years, as they're listed in many of these whereases, or is it just me who cannot follow this? It talks about the bylaws setting them up for the election of officers in June of 2020.
Yeah, that's an
In
artifact.
present tense,
That's a
it says
mistake on
several
my part.
members have been nominated, which sounds like 2022.
So Lucian will fix that. That is definitely an artifact from age.
Okay, and there is another one that's kind of comparable to that among the whereases.
Sure, I'll make sure to clean up those dates. That's my mistake.
Thank you. Jeff, you're next.
And my comment is probably the result of a similar kind of artifact. There's references in here to approval and recommendation of the nominating committee, which I happen to chair. And unless my memory is failing me, which is always possible, I don't think we have either recommended or approved anything yet, although I certainly don't have any personal objection.
That is an artifact from 2020.
Yes.
Yeah. And to be fair, I'd like to, part of this, Patrick was very helpful in writing this last time. I'd like to make sure that he also gets a good read through. I finished this today before he had a chance to look through everything, so I'm sure he'll have comments as well to make sure this all jives well with the bylaws.
Okay, and kind of a related question is, if there is in fact something that the nominating committee needs to do, please let me know so that we can make sure that we do it.
No problem. What we're looking to do is to actually streamline so we are not stuck to paper ballots for the long run on this, and be able to use electronic information to, I don't know, be current with the century.
Yeah, no, if the open meetings law allows it, it's great.
Perfect. Mr. Cannell.
Yeah, I just want to say in response to what Lucian said, I did go through it, and apologies, I didn't catch those dates and other nits, but I'm glad others are paying close attention to those things. And Jeff, I didn't know that wasn't something that you guys have done, so that's a good catch too. But otherwise, yeah, Lucian, I did go through it. I think it comports with what we're trying to do, both what we were trying to do then in pivoting in our then new world, and what we're trying to do now with the guidance that we're getting from the borough president's office under the open meetings law. I think this is a sensible way to go about it. So I don't have anything else other than that.
Perfect.
And one thing that I'll ask is, one thing I want to point to is that for the platform, it would be good if when we are setting up the platform to use for voting, to make sure the nominating committee has a chance to look at that platform. The platform that we have in mind is a standard, well used platform, but like last run, we had made sure the nominating committee was very comfortable with how the platform is loaded and how it executes the vote, and whatever transparency measures are available. We want to make sure the nominating committee is, fully comfortable with that solution for the election.
And keep in mind, we are not prescribing what the method is by a specific app, because we want to leave it open to, if something better comes along and works better, that the nominating committee and the board decides whatever is most functional and up to date at the time. That is why it's not prescribed specifically within. All right, let me take a look if there's any questions in the attendee list, because I was not on that before. Nope, I'm in good shape. Seeing no other questions, I'm calling the question. Can I get a second?
Second.
Fantastic. Lucian, take it away.
Okay. Are there any members opposed to this motion? Speak now. Do I hear any abstentions? Do I hear any recusals? With that, the motion carries.
Thank you. And for the record, Trisha Joyce has departed. All right, let's go to the next one on the agenda. We're cranking it out, peeps. Ow.
Okay, just want a quick check that we still have quorum 1, 2. Okay, we still have quorum. No one else leave.
Exactly. And that's going to be even more important that everybody follows that same protocol as we go forward. Alrighty, so we are now up to, in terms of resolutions, the pending New York State Legislature discussion resolution for 123 Greenwich, looking to be 89 Trinity. So for people who do not know this particular building is the Stock Exchange building. This was what was the board fought with about Live Nation. This is no longer Live Nation. This is an organization called The Ned. And I think, Lucian, correct me if I'm wrong, did you share the materials that were sent to us this week?
Yeah, the background information that was sent about the operation, the expected operation, and the different loads for the different concepts was shared. So everyone should have that in their email.
Fantastic. So I'm going to ask for hands up. Pat Moore, you're first.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you.
So I was very upset at the meeting the other night because the quality of life issue was totally hijacked, and all the discussion ended up being about the procedures, and that they were coming to us and they hadn't done a presentation and no one understood what was going to be going on in the building. That is not what they were asking for. They're asking for the entrance to be moved. And everyone knows that when Live Nation came, I had a fit, because we cannot have the entrance on Greenwich Street. It would require hundreds of cars to go down my street, which is the only street that goes west, and then they would make a left turn on basically the only street that goes south, which is Greenwich Street. There would be backup, noise. It's just, it would be insane. So the other thing is, generally when there's a topic of discussion and it pertains to one of the board members lives in that area, I tend to vote as that board member votes because they know intimately the situation. So I was trying to say to everyone at the meeting the other night how it was going to affect all the residents that live in Greenwich South, and that they were coming to ask only about changing the entrance. They were not coming to ask for the liquor license. They were not coming to discuss what was going to go on in the building. They only wanted to change the entrance from Greenwich Street to Trinity Place. So I ask everyone tonight to please understand that that is what they are asking for, and that I ask everyone to please agree to have the entrance, or at least to have them apply for the entrance to be changed to Trinity Place. Thanks.
Thank you, Pat. Susan Cole, you're next, and then Francis, and then I have a comment.
Okay, wait, I have to make sure that Susan's number is put up. I see that Susan has the phone up to her ear, and I'm going to look and double check your number, Susan, to make sure that I have you unmuted. Give me 1 second, Susan.
She's 212.
Yes, but just want to 212. I think I got it. Okay. Susan, you should be able to, I think, star 3 unmutes on your phone.
Hi, Susan. I hear you laughing.
No, that's Francis, I think.
That's
Hold on, Susan, we
me.
don't got you yet. Hold on. Is it star 3? Gosh, let me just double check.
You said last night it was the other night it was star 3.
No, I'm sorry, star 6, star 6, star 3 is
Oh,
Dory's
star
hand.
6.
Star 6, Susan. That's
I'm
good.
unmuted.
Yes.
Yay!
I have a voice. I have a voice. So, Francis,
Susan, mute your computer.
I muted the other one. Wait, Susan, you gotta mute your speakers. Mute your computer speakers.
okay. Oh, shit. Sorry. Okay.
Better.
I muted them.
Perfect.
Okay. So, Francis led the meeting. I was not there last week. I think there's some contention and some issue around all of this, or what the legislation was and whatever, and the 200-foot hearing. I hear Pat, and I'm certainly willing to, I think people who live in the community, that's what we're all about. I don't have any trouble with this, but I don't understand why we have to do this so quickly, and why we're being pushed at this, and why we couldn't have had a better meeting and a better understanding, and you could have had it with quality of life. So I feel like I'm being their advocate, and I'm being pushed to do something that we haven't really all, as a group, dealt with. So can somebody explain that to me, please?
Lucian and I sure can, no problem. We have had people go directly to legislature before. They don't normally or always or required to come to the community board for an exception to the 200-foot ruling. It does have to go through legislature. They will come back to us for everything revolving around the SLA. Because if we want to change the process of how that works, that is a topic we should definitely take up. That can be a separate resolution that says, as a matter of process, we would like to have a required advisory purview for that before it goes to legislature. There's no process in prior that says that they have to. It's not like the liquor licenses where there's a requirement that they come to us. We can do that as a separate thing if that's what we want to do, which is no problem. But for this one, they followed the rules that are set out in front of them. So
they followed the rules. I understand that, but why are we rushing? I mean, why didn't it go to quality of life? Why couldn't I always worry when we're pushed so quickly to do somebody's work, Tammy, and we're only advisory till they need us, and then kind of like they walk all over us on some level. So that's still my question. I feel like I can't quite get a grip on it.
They did what they needed to do. We asked for information. They sent us information. They're not required to present until they come for the liquor license. So right now, I'm a little confused, particularly about 120, about this building, because we do have a resolution when it was based on Live Nation. And we did speak up, and we did go on record saying that we didn't want an entrance on Greenwich Street, and that we thought
correct,
and that Church Trinity was better. So I'm a little confused as to why, with a different applicant, listening to what the community board has said before, why we didn't opine on the merits of the entrance and exits, like when we already have something on. They've gone to the legislature wants to pass it before they close. So I'm a little confused at where the issue is here, right? They've done their process. From their perspective, it's not a rush, because then they're going to come back to us and talk liquor license. But they want to get their entrance and exit so they can do their process of what they need to do for construction and for this and for marketing and conceivability. And it follows in line with what we've already said. So that's what makes me a little bit confused on this side, right? It's about an entrance and an exit. So we said, well, maybe we need more information on entrance and exit. So they sent us more information on entrance and exit.
Well, and we have Pat, and we have that, but there's something that just bothers me. I want to hear what Betty has to say, please.
Well,
maybe
that's
I'm
fine.
off the wall, but I always worry about this stuff, Tammy. You know me.
I
sorry
do.
to jump in.
So hold on, Pat. No, Pat. No,
Wait.
Pat, wait. Stop. We're going to go through everybody, and then you get your second round, right? That's the way we roll. So Betty, Jeff, Francis, and then back to you, Pat.
So the only leverage a community board really has with a place like this is the liquor license. But why aren't we just sending a letter from the board informing them that we've already have this other resolution that specifically said which entrance we do prefer, which Pat seems to be consistent with?
Because it was a different applicant, a different thing. It's not related to this legislation. This act of legislature for this 200-foot rule for this applicant is based on entrance and exit for this one. It's like you don't approve a liquor license, and then if the restaurant goes broke, the next person comes, they have to apply for a new one. It's no different than that.
But it sounds like the
Also,
same thing as saying we
office-
have in the past approved that we prefer.
Yeah, but also Senator Kavanaugh and Assemblymember New have asked to see support, and so I think having something that's kind of tailored to this would provide that, allow them to continue this process in Albany. I think the past resolution informs the board, but I think they're asking for something that's packaged for them in Albany.
Correct. Betty, does that answer your question? Enough. Okay. Jeff, Francis, and then Pat.
Maybe my ignorance is simply because I'm filling in for Justine, and perhaps I didn't receive some of the information on this issue. But it sounds to me like what we're talking about here is legislation that Kavanaugh and New want to introduce, or perhaps have introduced, to waive this SLA distance rule. Why do we have to say yes to that? If I mean, I don't understand. Like, I am familiar with the Battery Park City related legislation that we're going to be discussing momentarily. And as we look at that, we look at it, we say, do we like the legislation? Do we not like the legislation? If we do, we have a supportive resolution. If we don't, we don't. On this particular one, why in the world would we support it if the natural implication is negative to our neighborhood? I just don't understand the dynamic here.
We're actually supporting it because for 123 Greenwich, we would be supporting that move and that legislation because it does follow the guidelines of what we had with the last operator, and it is something that we have asked for. So it's not against what we've asked for from a different operator. It's actually exactly what it is. The objections, Francis can give you more thing, but there were lots of objections at the meeting when you listen to the recording about the process. But the process is not what we're here to debate. The process.
I'm just trying.
The two entrance.
Sorry, I'm just trying to understand it. So, is it the case that by waiving this rule, it permits the entrance to be on Trinity?
Correct.
But otherwise, it wouldn't. Okay, all right. Now I understand. Okay.
Yeah, to put it another way, the building was built for the entrance to be on Trinity. However, that's when it was a trading floor. But when licensed through the SLA, it technically cannot do that because of Trinity Church. Then they would essentially turn the rear door into the front door.
Okay, so this legislation would make it practical to have the entrance on Trinity rather than on Greenwich. Is
Right.
that correct? Okay,
Yeah,
I understand. Thank you.
And the difference between this legislation and other legislation is that I think that this is the closest thing to member deference that we see in Albany, where if the two, the Senate Assembly counterparts both introduce legislation for this, that it just will pass.
Okay.
But the elected officials are asking us to be the actual arbiters of whether or not this moves at all. So they're
Okay.
giving us the veto.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Francis.
Process and content are both important. As this being the first meeting that I was chairing because Susan was out, I felt completely hijacked. I felt ambushed because I had no idea that this was coming up or what it was about. Okay, when it was finally discussed, it took up most of the meeting because I think that because of the fact that it was process oriented, and yes, we are the committee on licensing for the liquor licensing. It was premature in that sense, but in terms of the other issues, which I felt and the committee felt were about quality of life, it might have been better to have been brought to that committee first to discuss in terms of where the door should have gone, and then it could have come to the licensing committee after they wanted to have approval for a liquor license. So I think that because of the fact that there were these two issues going on, people were not focused. They were focused on both issues for different reasons, and that's why the discussion took a lot of time. So
Francis, the 200-foot rule has to go to licensing, not quality of life, because it is a liquor license rule that has to come over about how you can't actually even file for a liquor license unless you have this variance because you are within 200 feet of a school and a church.
okay, then it should have been, it could have been put at another point on the agenda because it was something that they were asking for that was, seems to me, required the committee's ability to be able to have a good conversation and just not just conversation, discussion about the issues, because obviously there were a lot of different issues, and it being placed at the top of the agenda just took away from a lot of the other work that we needed to do. And I think there's still issues here as far as that particular request and how it was presented, and the fact that it was presented because our state senators were asking for I don't know whether to say special attention or whatever. We're asking for it to be moved, but I still think that it should have had more of a quality of life discussion around the door piece. With all due respect to the community and Pat and what they've done, and I'm hearing now that there was a document or there was discussion in the past about this issue. Had we had that piece of information, we would have been able to short circuit the conversation maybe and bring it back to
With all due respect, Francis, the last resolution came out of licensing, and people on the committee, not you because you weren't there, and Susan, if she was there, would have remembered that when it was Live Nation, much as Pat said, these were the reasons that some of the reasons that they were denied the liquor license was because of the entrance on Greenwich, because of the size, and everything that went with it. So yes, I agree. You were not there, but other people on your committee were.
Well,
yeah. And I think it's also a process of we might not have had, perhaps we should have pulled as an office up all the old information for that
Would have
building
helped.
prior operator. Absolutely, it would have helped, and it would have changed the dialogue and given more complete information.
Thank
And
you.
that's something that we can take forward.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
I can take my hand down.
Yeah, that would have helped. That would have helped.
That
And
would have
that's-
helped.
Because like I said, I felt blindsided and not,
and you were,
know.
and you were.
And it was at the top of the agenda, so it's like, okay, here we go, And anyway,
Pat, your hand is still up. It's second round, and then
I don't have much else to say except yes, Francis, there were a lot of members of the licensing committee that were there when I flipped out without Live Nation, and they remember that. And the conversation was hijacked to this issue of process as opposed to the quality of life issues, which I kept saying. And, and so I think that maybe it doesn't belong in my committee, maybe it doesn't belong in quality of life, but the main issue with moving the door is a quality of life issue. So again, I ask that every member here, please vote that we move the door to Trinity so that people in Greenwich South, not Sinai, everybody knows Greenwich South, that we do not have to deal with the traffic that will come with the entrance being on Greenwich Street.
So
Thank
then
you.
Can I call the question?
Not yet, Susan, because I have two things to add on this.
Oh,
One, I have spoken with both principals of the schools that are surrounding for both of these applications to let them know that it was happening. Because in the process of engagement and transparency, I think that that was really important to do. They will not go on writing because that's a legal thing for the DOE to do. We don't have time to go through that rigmarole. But they did not have any objections and thought, it would be super cool. In fact, one of them said to have it more on Trinity where it would provide more excitement to the block because it's kind of desolate, which I thought was a really interesting feedback. The other thing is, I do know that Trinity Church is well aware of this particular company and what's going on, and we have made it perfectly clear that they should not come to the community board for a liquor license until they have spoken to Trinity. I spoke with Trinity as well. So they are, I spoke with the vicar and let him know that this was coming. So we are doing our due diligence to ensure as a community, we get the most feedback we can. And with that, I am done with everything I have to say. Okay. Anybody have anything else? Can I call the question?
I just want to add the fact that Trinity didn't show up. They weren't at the meeting. So that was another piece that, in terms of the committee and the way the committee was feeling at the time that the presentation was going on. Trinity was not at this past meeting.
Correct. Yep.
That's all.
Yeah. I believe Vicar Bird was traveling because we saw him on the walkthrough the day before. All righty.
We did ask the applicant why they hadn't reached out to Trinity and gotten Trinity to come there. And we said that if we agreed that the entrance would be on Trinity, that they were required to get the approval from Trinity Church.
Can't we just add a line in the resolution saying they should consult Trinity?
Absolutely, positively.
I've received word that they are in talks with Trinity, and so they're moving through all the different aspects of it. So they are communicating, and that's what I heard from Trinity's representative.
Well, let's put it. Right. Yep, let's put it in the reso. All right. With that in mind, I think I called the question. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Eddie, I'm sorry. It was seconded, and now I'm going to be really brutal going forward. Once it's called, once it's seconded, vote follows.
All right, here we go, everyone. All those opposed? All those abstaining? Anyone recusing themselves? All right, with that, the motion carries.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Now, that's not the only one. There's another one that's 111, 115 Broadway, who is also looking to put their entrance on Trinity.
Now, this one, I'll say that they approached us after the window closed to add them to the licensing agenda at all. So that's why they had to go to executive regardless. Mr. K, this is in no relation to Betty K. I'm assuming. But Mr. K, is there anyone else from your team that I need to pull over?
Why is it such a rush?
Let's have him answer.
It's just me. The timing here, as with the 123 Greenwich, is the end of the legislative session. So as things are winding down in Albany, the days are down to a precious few. Legislative items that are not priorities, and certain policy priorities, I should say, and those that are really matters of local interest tend to get pushed to the end of the session. So again, as the chair has stated, this is a situation again where there's no formal process for advisory or for any consultation on a 200-foot rule bill. It is a legislative exception. To the ABC law, in the case of a church or a school. Here in the case of 111 and 115 Broadway, I am representing the owner of the building, Capital Properties, and they are seeking to locate one or two high-end restaurants in each of the buildings using the existing entrances with some modifications for each 111 and for 115 Broadway. That 200-foot variance need is impacted by the location of the high school for economics and finance across the street. We have done the outreach to the DOE. As the chair has noted, the DOE is highly reluctant, to say the least, to go on a record here, even to state a no objection as precedent. And there's another pending bill in the current session, which involves the school building up in Onondaga County, right outside of Syracuse. There is no reference to the school supporting or even objecting. And in fact, if you were to look at the bill memo, it just says that the school buildings would not be at disadvantage. So that's the situation we have here. I also want to note that there is some precedent by the board here. Back in 2014, there was a variance was sought to the 200-foot rule by the owners of 195 Broadway. In that case, the 200-foot rule was concerning St. Paul's Chapel, and the board approved that, or at least approved a resolution in support of that, which included a letter by the then chair of what was the Financial District Committee, as well as a letter from Jessica Lappin of the Downtown Alliance.
Thank you very much, Mr. K. I'm going to have hands up for
Thank
anybody who has questions. My one comment is, if that school is about economic and finance, perhaps there'd be some really good case studies and information you can do for the school. Pat, hands up. You're in.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. I didn't see. Did we get materials on this? I didn't see.
Nope.
Okay, so Is it in the Merrill Lynch building? Is that what we're talking about?
No, it's 115 and 111 Broadway, which are the twin buildings.
Trinity
Cedar,
buildings.
south side of Cedar Street,
Yeah,
and
the
then the
Trinity
other
buildings.
building, right?
Okay, so the two
Main
Trinity
Street.
buildings where
Right.
the soup guy used to be. Okay, so
Yes.
yes, it is diagonally across from the and you want entrances on Trinity also.
Yes, the two restaurants would be located on the Trinity side of both buildings.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, I mean I have no objections with that. Thank
Okay.
you.
If I see no other hands, let's call the question.
Second.
Okay, here we go. Stand by. All those opposed? All those abstaining? All those recused? Okay, sounds like the motion carries, everyone.
Okay, so let's go off to the next thing. I appreciate we're moving along and it's 7:35. Let's see what's next on our agenda. We've gotten all the resos. Affordability. I did invite Senator Kavanaugh's team here to speak about that. So let's see if Emily is here or one of the legislative teams. Emily, I see you. So let's let Emily take that away.
Tammy, good to see everyone. Lucian, is Hallie on? Could you make her a panelist as well? Hallie is our housing committee director. She knows much more about the technical details than I do.
Lee, I'm not seeing Hallie.
Okay, just told her to join. I can start with
And
just
Lucy, if you
a
see
broad
Hallie, move
overview.
her over if you see her before me.
I don't see her, and just for the record, Alice is back.
Oh, great.
Okay, she should be joining, but I can start with just sort of a broader overview. So the specific bill you guys are discussing tonight is S9032A, which is our Battery Park City Omnibus Bill. Senator Kavanaugh presented on this bill, I believe, right at the beginning of May after we introduced it, but I know the community board wanted some more time to take a look at it and discuss it. So I would start with the most recent update is that just today, actually, we put in an amendment to the bill. It is updated on the website, so feel free to take a look at that. But we basically amended it to currently the bill has essentially a rebate program for homeowners in Battery Park City who are making at or less than 150% of the area median income of the New York City region. Those eligible homeowners would receive essentially a ground rent freeze, and they would get a rebate back at the end of the year from the Battery Park City Authority for the difference. And what we amended the bill today to include was a version of that program for renters and tenants. So it essentially mirrors the homeowner program, but basically if you are a tenant or a renter who is, Lucian, I think Hallie's on now. If you are, if your household is making at or below 150% of the area median income, and you are a renter who is under some sort of a regulatory agreement or under quasi-rent stabilization, then you would also be eligible to receive a freeze on the portion of your rent payment that is attributable to ground rent. So essentially the sort of same version of the program for renters that we did for homeowners, and that's what we amended today to include. Just to quickly go over the rest of the bill. Currently, Battery Park City residents are not eligible for a number of different programs that are available to homeowners and tenants across New York City, including SCREE, DREE, SHE, and D, which are the senior citizen rent increase exemption, the disabled rent increase exemption, the senior citizen homeowners exemption, and the disabled homeowners exemption. So that if you are an eligible homeowner or renter there's a number of eligibility criteria that we can pull up if you want the details on, but you would also be essentially eligible for a freeze, and the reason Battery Park City residents weren't eligible is because property taxes are assessed as pilots, obviously, and that we're just essentially changing it so that pilots are included as part of that. So Battery Park City residents can access those programs. And the final part of the bill is to basically direct the Battery Park City Authority to extend the master ground lease with the City of New York by 50 years to June 18th, 2119. So we heard from folks that, you know, people were having trouble accessing financing for their mortgages and buying homes in the neighborhood, and sort of having that extension on the lease, which would allow the authority to extend subleases with individual buildings, would help provide more of that stability that people are looking for. So that's a very quick overview of the bill. Hallie is on now and she knows much more than I do. So she can speak to any specific questions people have, but we're happy to answer anything that we can, and anything that we can't, we will get back to you on.
Yeah, and if I may, just really quick, just so everyone knows, Hallie was the Deputy Director of Policy with Gail's office for a number of years. And then I also served with Hallie on Manhattan Community Board 11 in East Harlem for a number of years as well. So Hallie is definitely an incredible policy mind. So I definitely look forward to what she has to say.
We're very lucky to have her.
But you did great too, Emily.
Thanks, Lucian.
I have hands up, so let's go Jeff Galloway and then Detta. And I am looking for attendees and okay.
Okay. This question is for Hallie. I'm familiar with the bill as it was introduced a couple of weeks ago, and as Senator Kavanaugh presented to the Battery Park City Committee. But Emily's, and we did discuss during the meeting, is there something that could be done to have renters benefit from the rent freeze provisions when income drops to 150 AMI or below? And so I'm glad to see that has been addressed. I can't seem to find that legislation as changed online, and until Emily just mentioned it, I was unaware of it. So maybe Hallie, you could explain a little bit better how that would work. I understand how it works for the condo owners in terms of the ground rent freeze when income drops to that level. How would it work with respect to renters?
Yeah, so thank you for asking and for following this. I believe if you go to the bill link for the same legislation S9032, you will now see the print, so the amended version. It was just very recently, I think a couple hours ago, been updated. So that's kind of to your question about seeing the language. It is available now. And in terms of how it works, it would be similar in terms of administration as the homeowners version. Obviously, this one it's slightly different because if you're a homeowner, you kind of have your portion of the, let's say, carrying charges, or there's a way to kind of break that down. For the renters, there is perhaps like an additional layer, but it's similar. Like if a landlord, the property owner or management company kind of is the person or the entity making ground rent payment to the Battery Park City Authority, there will have to be between the owner and Battery Park City Authority, just figuring out that portion of somebody's rent that would go towards what is, from the renter's perspective, they pay monthly rent. They wouldn't necessarily know how much of that is for the ground rent portion, or for even, different buildings, how, what portion of that is passed down as rent. So we do understand there's complication, and I think part of why we originally included or just have the homeowners portion was sort of we needed to think through what that means. So this is, it's a great question. I think there is a way to figure out, because the way that it works is the same as the homeowners version. So you would kind of be eligible for the year, and then the year before is kind of the base year. So the calculation for whatever the base year is going to be done in order to kind of get you enrolled in the program, so to speak. And in doing so, there will then have like the method of calculation and the portion will have to be figured out. And then going forward, it's just, maybe using a similar formula, or maybe kind of working with the Battery Park City Authority to kind of break that down to figure out what the increase is. And if the increase translates to, X dollar per month out of a renter's, monthly rent payment, then it will work the same way. Like at right now, as it's written, it will be like at the end of the year or whenever, the rebate is going to be made, that would kind of be repaid back to the renter who has otherwise paid, their rent amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Tammy and the rest of the committee, I mean, I think this, Tammy, I think you were there at the Battery Park City Committee, and so you heard Senator Kavanaugh's presentation. I think this is very interesting legislation, and I think it goes, and for the benefit of the other people who weren't at the Battery Park City Committee meeting, in addition to, as I think Emily may have just mentioned, in addition to this relief for condo owners on the ground rent at certain income levels, it also opens up SCREE and DREE and the condo version of the same to Battery Park City residents. And although the income levels are considerably lower for those programs, there are, as I understand it, residents of Battery Park City that fall within those limits and would tremendously benefit from the availability of SCREE and DREE and whatever the condo version, SHREE or whatever it's called. So we've addressed affordability in Battery Park City a lot in the community board, or at least discussed it a lot. This doesn't solve all the problems, but I think it is a positive step. Whether we're in a position to support the specific legislation in the time frame of what's left in the legislature, I leave to further discussion among committee members and the board, because it is somewhat complicated and has lots of implications, but I think it is a positive step. That's what I have to say.
Thank you, Jeff. Detta, and then Alice, I think.
Hi, so yeah, I'm familiar with SCREE and DREE and with SHE and D. That I worked at the Department of Finance with those programs for 3 years. Is this for all land lease buildings in the city? Will they all of the ones that pay a pilot, will they now be eligible for those programs for the SHE and D? Or is it just for the land lease buildings in Battery Park City?
So this would be for residents, Battery Park City residents who basically have their unit or housing in Battery Park City as primary residence. So it is limited to that area.
So others who pay the pilot still can't get SHE or D?
No, yeah, so this bill is specifically only for Battery Park City primary residents.
Okay, well, if it passes, that, hey, it's always a challenge for the agency that then has to implement it. But thank you for answering my question.
Thank you, Detta. Alrighty, do I see any other hands?
Diane Lapson.
Hi, Diane.
A quick question.
Sure.
Thank you so much for answering these questions. In my complex, Independence Plaza, there are leases that are have to be signed by June 5th. If this passes afterward, do the tenants who have signed these new leases, are they left out of the next year's? Should they put their applications in, or are they left out of it because they had to sign a new lease for possibly 2 years?
Um,
It's rental.
so I think, can I just kind of gain clarity? It's Independence IPN, right? That's a former Mitchell-Lama, is that correct?
It's a former Mitchell-Lama, but it's only under a negotiated deal. It's not officially rent stabilized. It has a negotiated deal, and some of the tenants are voucher tenants and others are landlord assistant program, which is something we created for the people who couldn't get vouchers. And I believe only the LAP tenants, the landlord assistance program, can apply for the SCREE or DRE.
Yeah. So that is, it is correct. So we actually, for former Mitchell-Lamas, there is it wouldn't be this particular bill. It's a separate bill that is also making its way through both houses in the legislature, that would allow former Mitchell-Lama rental tenants whose units are under some sort of agreement, just like if I think for the voucher holders among the tenants at IPN. So that is, we are very hopeful that that bill will also pass. And it's one of the ones that we're pushing for. And on the assembly side is also, just got voted out of the housing committee on their end earlier this week. In terms of your timing question, that actually is we had a question and we found out answer from HPD. And I guess the short answer is, yes, please apply. I think the timing may be a little tight. So when June 2nd, which is the last day of the session, that would be the final day of any legislation passing. Let's say the bill passes, governor signs, it becomes law. The timing is definitely tight, but we have been advised by HPD that, to please apply for it. And then if there is, they do have the ability to kind of do some sort of retroactive calculation and an application of when the SCREE entry would start being effective. So that's the response that we get. And again, it's one of those that would benefit people with the lease renewals coming up, because they should apply. They should definitely, if they plan to stay around, renew their lease. But then when they do submit the application, especially since we asked the question of HPD, now they're aware of it, then they would know, this maybe group of tenants in this particular residence are under these kind of deadlines, and they would be able to process it and kind of apply their retroactivity to the exemption.
I think I understand what you said.
Yeah.
Basically apply, definitely apply.
I think I understand. But though we are a former Mitchell-Lama, we are not a former Mitchell-Lama that went right into rent stabilization. I think that,
Diane,
yeah.
can we keep it focused on the Battery Park City bill?
Oh, sure.
I apologize.
Okay. No, I didn't realize.
Yep, I want to keep it focused here because we have to vote on this
Okay.
one.
All right. I'm out.
I appreciate we can take that up at another time as well.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you though. I see no other hands. Does anybody else have any other questions that they need to ask, or do we feel prepared that we can take a vote on this? Seeing no hands, I'm going to call the question. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, Lucian.
All right, here we go.
Thank you.
Fire it up. All right. Hold on a second. Gino, shh. All right, all those opposed? Hearing none. All those abstaining? Hearing none.
I'm abstaining.
Any?
I'm
Wait, tell
abstaining.
me. Who's
I'm
abstaining?
abstaining. Me.
Oh, Tammy Meltzer.
Tammy Meltzer
abstains?
abstains. Apologize.
Got it.
I just want to
any
hear
other
it back
abstentions?
again.
Yes, Tammy Meltzer abstains. Anyone recusing? Asking to be recused? Okay. With that, it appears that the motion passes. Thank you.
Okay. So now we're going to go to Betty. And
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you very much, Hallie. Thank you very much, Emily. It's awesome having you guys come. And I just want everybody to understand I abstain because I need to re-listen to what Hallie said and absorb it a little deeper in my head just because there's a lot going on for me right now. Okay, moving to the next one.
Feel free to call anytime, Tammy.
Oh, don't worry.
I know.
All right, so let's move to the next one so we can continue on. We have a discussion on the funding of the DOT streets master plan questions and answers. This came to executive. There were so many questions. It got tabled in full board in April. This has been on no less than 4 agendas that I can remember. So I would like to have anybody who has any questions on any of the materials, bring it forward now so we cannot be debating things that we have gone over at the full board again. So let's put hands up if anybody has any. I see no hands. Then nobody has any questions, right? And when we get to full board, all the folks that are here on the executive committee, and I will have assumed, have read everything and will be able to say that they are comfortable in taking a vote, correct? Awesome.
Can I ask people if they have looked at the changes? Because there were changes to the resolution. When it came back to committee, which had passed unanimously last month, it did pass unanimously again this month, but added all of the resolution requests that have been made by CB1 that are in line with the funding that would be available if the streets plan received full funding. So I wanted to see if people had seen the additional information that's been added to the reso that's going to be voted on this month in full board.
So, Betty, the interesting thing is I don't see any hands. Okay.
Yeah, so, well, and if they up to date, that's fine.
That's fantastic. Moves us down to bylaw updates. You've already seen some of the bylaws changes that will come into effect with the 2 resolutions that we passed. Lucian, do we have more slides for this part?
Repeat slides for which part?
Bylaw changes. I don't think so.
Any additional slides for the bylaw changes? Let me take a look.
The one thing I can say is we are going to officially change, and this will come by resolution, working through some of the bylaws on cleaning things up. So for example, we now take roll call vote with the vote for the minutes instead of the first resolution, because we don't, otherwise it calls into question the validity of the votes on the minutes because we haven't done our quorum check. So that is a bylaw change, which we can do easily. If there are any objections to that, please speak now. Okay, so with that, let me just take a look. We're going to make those, I'm going to call a question and that will be a vote. If as a yes, that we can change that in our bylaws, because believe it or not, it's listed as the vote in our bylaws. With that change and the others, you will see updated bylaws once I pass them through with the parliamentarian. Okay? Does anybody have any objections to changing when we take the full first roll call vote?
I'm sorry, Tammy, I'm confused. I thought we did a roll call already on the bylaws changes. And now
No,
you're
we
bringing
did
it up
it.
again. So now you're bringing up a second topic. So I just want to get the votes in here, right?
So the first ones we did were based on quorum, how we operate the board, and the voting itself. This is in our bylaws about when we take the first roll call vote. Our current bylaws say that the first roll call vote is taken on the first resolution after the minutes are approved, which makes no sense. We are now moving it that the roll call vote is taken for the minutes, which is, and then we move on. So I'm going to call a question on that to make that one change, because every change in the bylaws has to be approved by the full board.
Second.
Fantastic. Lucian? Oh, I can do this while he's doing. Are there any no's?
Okay.
Are there any abstentions? No recusals? Motion passes. Alrighty. Committee reports. Again, for committee reports, please only raise your hand and tell me if your committee is going to light the board on fire and you need to go first.
Good job. Good job, kid.
Do I have any hands up?
This, but this one is push all the way back.
See?
Jump in.
It's Lucian's son needs to go first. No, only kidding. Go ahead, Pat.
I'll jump in.
Sorry.
I hope that the rewritten cobblestone reso will not light the board's hair on fire. We have retracted the call to asphalt over the streets. We've been told by landmarks that we cannot change the surface. So our reso is basically just asking that there be, and there will be asphalt involved, but it is only to repair to temporarily the temporary fix on the areas of the cobblestone that are in the worst shape. And then we're asking that DOT come back and do a permanent repair. And I can go into greater detail at the board, but hopefully it won't be controversial like it was 2 months ago.
I think, Pat, you should go first.
We'll
right.
see. I'll be at work, so we'll see that I get there on time.
Oh, no. Alice, you go first.
I don't want to go first, but I will say I won't be lighting anyone on fire, but I may bore everyone to tears. And to avoid that, I would just ask that everyone goes on our website to see one under external documents, if anyone's interested in the 250 Water Street Brownfields cleanup update. It's quite specific. I would ask that you do that. And two, also for, what's the other issue? I'm now blanking on our second piece of the agenda, which took all night. The update from the Lower Manhattan Coastal Resiliency, which that certainly wasn't a big portion, nothing really new there. But I did want to say that the battery aspect of that, the South Battery Park resiliency, I just came off the only public hearing we're having on the EIS, and I would really ask if anyone has any reservations or thoughts or whatever they want to opine on to write them down soon, because we will have to provide a letter to the Battery Park City Authority by June 3rd. So that's it. Thanks.
And I encourage you, because the plans are also slightly different than what we have seen on this board. So that's great. Seeing no other hands for any other committees, does anybody have anything else? Again, only if it's going to be something that needs to be agended strangely at the full board. All right. With that, I think I hit everything. No? Oh, Francis, you're up.
Just that the items from licensing were discussed, the two hot topics were discussed at this committee meeting. Yeah, the presentation, 123 Greenwich and the other one, what was it? One,
111, 115 Broadway,
yeah,
and
those.
23 Greenwich, which will
Yeah,
both end.
otherwise, everything else went okay. And I will not be at the board meeting to present. So between Mark and Susan and Lucian, they will present.
Okay. Thank you very much, Francis. I appreciate it. And thank you for all that hard work. I'm so sorry. We will endeavor to do a little bit better with background information on addresses with you. All right. With
Jackson
that,
handled it well, though.
amazing, I might add. Grace under pressure would be a expression that would be well suited for you, Francis. All right. With that, I see no other things. I call the meeting to a close at 8:04. Thank you very much.
Before we go, can
uh-oh.
we get to meet the new board members? Those of us, several of us were at the public bathrooms task force meeting, so we didn't get to meet the new members.
Fantastic. Yes, we have 5 new appointed board members. You will get to meet them all at the full board, of course. I think, let's see who's still here. Okay, we have Cody, who is here. Cody, say hi.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you.
And we have Dr. Andrea Ju. Andrea, say hi. She's there, I promise. We have Morton.